Good afternoon, Michael Malice here. Let that be your welcome for the next hour. We have with us today one of my favorite people, comedian Joe DeVito, who I've known for a very long time. People see you, Red Eye, our beloved long-gone Red Eye. You're on Gutfeld all the time.
You're going to be on Gutfeld this weekend.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
very
if the news doesn't bump me.
Okay. Before we started, I was telling you that you, I think, are better than anyone I know at yes and in the sense of conversation. Like if I throw something out to you, I know you're going to be able to go and run with it. And we were talking how a lot of people don't have that, and that if you're trying to have a conversation with them on air or even off air, they just kind of shut down.
Yeah. Well, I thank you, and I attribute that to my craven need for the approval of others. That I'm always listening to think of how I can ingratiate myself to them. I notice a lot when I do morning radio when I'm on the road that morning radio guys, they are brutal because a lot of them are frustrated comedians.
Yeah.
But their whole job is the opposite of ours. Ours is to get a lot of meaning in a tiny amount of time, and their job is to fill up this huge amount of time with bullshit.
Yeah.
So they don't know how to listen to other people.
When you look into their eyes, what's it like? Are they human?
No, there's a deadness. It's like when you're in LA and someone shakes your hand, but they're already looking over your shoulder for the person who can do something for them.
I had that happen to me once in real life. I couldn't believe it. I was on DL Hughley. You know, he was doing a signing or a talk, and there was this guy, and I came with DL, a few other people, and he literally was shaking my hand and looking at DL. And I'd never seen anything like it. And, this brings me back. And, he interviewed DL. And basically what he had done is he took the press kit for the book. And the press kit had bullet points. And he just basically asked questions based on all these bullet points. And this very, very, very small man, and I don't mean small like us. I mean emotionally small. Not like us, who are also emotionally small. Petite. He goes home and brags about all these celebrities he's talking to, but there's no one there. It was such a jarring thing to see happen in real life.
Yeah, because you realize that's a person who's not even part of their own story.
Ooh, yeah.
It's creepy. It's creepy.
And part of my gig is trying to figure out how the people click and think and what goes through their minds. And their psychology is something I can't wrap my head around.
Yeah. As I get older, I really try to pay attention. The idea that people reveal themselves to you right off the bat, you just have to put aside your filters and notice it. That I was traveling this weekend, and I was working a cruise for the first time, and I was killing time in the whirlpool.
Oh my God,
this
cruises. We'll talk about that in a second.
But this beautiful young woman gets in, and within 2 minutes, she's talking about how she can tell different varieties of cocaine. We're not even 2 minutes into our first interaction, and she's bragging with someone. He said he was from Colombia, and she's like, "Oh, you have great cocaine, and I know my cocaine." And I thought she couldn't even control her first impression craziness.
Well, maybe she was cooked up.
It could have been, because she could have been jonesing, and she didn't seem to be clawing at her face or anything like that.
Was she grinding her jaw?
She was chomping a little bit, but not even to be able to control your dysfunctions in the opening. In your opening move, you're coming off. I don't know. I just don't understand it. Well, but now I have my eyes open to it. Now I know that's who that person is, and they've already told me, and it's on me to recognize and accept it.
Well, okay. So let's see what you think of my trick.
Okay.
Because now I want the honest opinion. What I do, I think most people aren't worth talking to.
Absolutely.
It's not even a question.
Yeah.
And not only are they not going to say anything of interest or value, their responses aren't going to be interesting or valuable, right? So the odds of meeting someone who's worth a conversation at a party are pretty low. Let's say probably 15%, 20%. So what I do when I meet someone is I will throw out a marginally inappropriate comment. Or I used to do this before I kind of became a little bit of a name. And you could see their reaction. And right away, you knew if this person is like you are, yes and, or if they're going to be like, what do you mean? or if they're going to roll their eyes, which is fine. But that to me was my trick to litmus test them.
Well, give me an example of what something you would throw out in that situation would be.
What would it be? It would be like, I'm trying to blank because now I'm at the
Yeah.
point where I would say something really bad.
Yeah,
because
you
I
just
can
don't
get
give a
away
shit.
with it.
Yeah.
Who's that? I don't know who that is. I can't see through the glass.
That was Gino Bisconti.
Oh, Gino,
Speaking of
the very
inappropriate-
failed comedian. Gino Visconti's. What would it would be more where I'm blanking.
Yeah.
and I don't have anything.
It is interesting that I always think of bees, the way bees come back to the hive and they have to give directions to where they found, and they do it through dance.
Yes.
And that's what we do. We do this dance when you meet someone and this conversational thing. I was in the green room at a comedy club with a comic I didn't really know well, and before it was just the two of us, a bunch of comics were having a typical very lefty liberal conversation. And they left, and this comic said to me, "Yeah, I don't really talk about politics on stage." And I said, "No, I don't really either." And he said, "Well, because, it seems like it's all from one point of view."
Oh, that's the code.
And I said, "Yes, it certainly does." And we had to do this back and forth until it went back and forth a few rounds, and then we both smiled. And it came down to him saying, "Sometimes I think Trump's not that bad."
Yeah.
And I said, "I think that's a perfectly reasonable assumption." And then we didn't even need to say too much more. We just had sort of the wink and the nod and the high sign, and we knew that he and I could have an actual conversation. We didn't need to even agree, but we could have an actual conversation. But we had to do this weird pantomime just to find out if we had to have a conversation to find out if we could have a conversation.
Since you travel a lot and you see a lot of different audiences from all over the country.
Yeah.
And also you're a comedian, you know a lot of comedians.
Yeah.
Can you explain to me how a comedian could look at Trump and not see humor there?
I think part of it is because he's so much funnier than most comedians.
Oh.
He's really funny. He's really funny. And it's distressing to see when he tweets out that Rocky photo,
Yes.
that people aren't looking at that and saying, "This is amazing." You don't have to like it, but you have to acknowledge that this is amazing, that this is what the president of the United... We're in a completely different realm now.
Yeah.
So sit back and enjoy that P.T. Barnum has been elected to the leadership of the United
Yeah.
States. It's fun. And what I see with his opposition is that they're so used to pussies like Mitt Romney, and even John McCain was kind of weak in that way, that they would roll over. And they got spoiled. And now they have someone who pushes back and they don't know what to do. Now, not saying he's correct, not saying that there are times where I wish he would just shut up, but they try to play his game and it's fun to see them get mangled at it. They can't, he's so good at what he does that when someone like AOC tries to fire back at him, you just think, oh, you're not even in the same league.
But what I mean from a comedian perspective, right? I get it from like political perspective, right? But you're in these green rooms, you're talking to these comedians. Like, how often are they doing what like New York journalists do and just sitting there blathering about, "Oh, Trump's the devil"? Is that a common thing?
Yeah, but I'm not really a New York City comic.
Okay.
I'm more of a road guy.
Okay.
I do my private gigs. I'm a grown up. I kind of missed out on that. I didn't start doing stand-up until I was in my 30s. So if I'd come up when I was in my 20s and more had young man perspectives on things. But there's a lot more conservative and libertarian comics than people think. We just kind of keep our mouths shut. Because think about what we do. We need free speech, and we're independent contractors. That's not really a recipe for socialism.
Sure.
So, yeah, it is weird to hear some of these conversations. I think part of it, too, is me just becoming an old guy now, that I hear young people passionately speak about things, and I'll pat them on the head. And I have a joke. I say, anyone under 40 says their opinion, I say 2 words. You'll see.
Yeah. To me, what I got some of the most, I think my biggest tweet ever was yesterday.
Oh, yeah?
And it was just total brain fart where this Greta Thunberg chick, I mean, let's talk about the comedy there. And she's on her boat, whatever.
Yeah, she's playing hooky.
Yeah. And I said, there's no one more privileged than the white girl who won't go to school until literally everyone on earth changes the weather for her. And it's at 40K likes right now. Yeah. And it's like, wait. We all remember, how old is she? 16?
I don't think she's that old. I think she might be, well, she looks very young.
Yeah. Oh, you think she?
I think she might be younger, like 14.
Fine.
Yeah.
The idea that I'm gonna ask a 14 or 16-year-old chick or dude their opinion about anything other than what music is currently terrible makes no sense to me. And, you know, you would think there'd be some self-awareness on the part of people championing her that, like, don't you think it's a little odd that you're venerating this, like, probably has fetal alcohol syndrome chick from another country as your Lord and Savior?
Why was she speaking before Congress?
No, the UN.
The UN.
The UN.
Yeah. This is what I say to people. She's either an adult who can be criticized for her boneheaded opinions.
Yeah.
Or she's a child who we don't take seriously. But she can't be the best of both. She can't be a child that you cannot question and has these sophisticated opinions that we simply must listen to. She either is an adult who you can criticize, or she is, and she seems to be, I don't know what the correct term is.
Retarded.
But I said mentally ill, and someone jumped on me. I said, well, she's certainly troubled. I mean,
what's his name? Michael Knowles got banned from Fox.
Yes!
It's Michael Knowles, Mr. Daily Wire.
Yeah.
He said she's mentally ill because he wasn't even referring to her autism.
She won't eat. She has like weird
like OCD
rituals
and stuff.
And shit.
Yeah. And then it's really funny because on the one hand, mental illness is not supposed to be stigmatized, but then if you call someone mentally ill when they have mental conditions, it's supposed to be.
I legit don't know what we're supposed to refer to it as now, but it's certainly not. I certainly
Asperific.
I don't see that as a person whose opinions I seek out. I mean, someone who goes through long periods of being nonverbal and not eating certain foods because they're on the plate incorrectly and all this other
was that the kind of thing?
Yeah, I believe she was going weird hunger strikes because certain food textures and
Oh, so she's really high on the spectrum.
Or she has insane parents who are propping her up
Yeah.
and using her as some sort of, I don't know, what is this, starting a children's crusade? I mean, what is this nonsense?
Well, I mean, the term for a group that uses children as a shield against criticism is Hamas.
Exactly.
And it's amazing that, but again, it's just like, even if she was saying things I agree with, there's that kid, there's like these, like David Hogg, there's Kyle Kashuv, whatever his name is. Why do I care what you think about guns? Because you were in a school where people got shot. Somehow now you're enlightened. That's not how it works.
Oh, and David Hogg runs his mouth about everything, and he's clearly incoherent in his tweets.
I have it blocked because I don't want to see that shit in my feed.
It's just a strange thing. I think it shows that what we're dealing with now is, it's not political opinions. It's a new religion.
Yes.
And they're looking for messiahs. And what's a better messiah than a perfect child who has not been sullied by a real world experience? Just the fact that she's
eating off of plates that have corners.
Yes, that you haven't cut the crust off her bread, so she doesn't speak for 4 months.
This sounds like an ideal child.
Yeah, exactly. Shut her the fuck up. Maybe her parents are just glad to get her out of the house. But the idea that she's on a boat bragging about how many days of school she'd missed, and for what I understand, the school she was at is a difficult one to get into because it's for special needs children.
Oh.
So she's wasted. The world has bent over backward. God damn it, there's no one more privileged than white women in this world.
Yeah.
Why can't they live longer? Everyone kisses their asses.
Someone tweeted at me like, "Oh, would you be saying this if it was a black girl?" I'm like, a black girl is not going on a boat to protest the climate. That's white people shit.
Absolutely.
It's stuff white people. And it's just really amazing that like if you tell rich white people what they want to hear, then all of a sudden you're like in front of the UN twitching away. But did you know that there's like 3 other Gretas?
No.
There's
backup Gretas?
Yeah. In Canada, there's an Eskimo Greta.
Oh, okay.
And in Ecuador, or no, it's somewhere in South America, there's one. And there's somewhere in like Estonia. And it's this teen girl who is protesting at climate change, and she's in all the news. And they just took it. You know how like Three's Company, which originally Man of the House in Britain, and they just poured it over, and many of these other shows, they just took this model and poured it into different countries.
It's a franchise.
It's like a franchise, yes.
It's like Menudo. Once you age out of it.
Yeah.
Like, I guess once she loses her virginity, they'll say she's no longer pure enough. She's no longer pure as the rapidly disappearing snow. So they have to rotate. But her speech mirrored one that was given at the UN by a prototype of hers from about 10 years ago. So it's all the same shit. And they're saying this is so unfair. Like, the way she's just spitting like, how dare you ruin my dream. Your dream of what? You're on a fucking yacht seeing the world. It's absurd.
Yeah. You've been doing comedy for a long time.
18 years.
What is your number one favorite joke to do?
My favorite joke to do is I talk about my parents wanting me to have children and how I need a plan. And the joke is, I do have a plan. I froze my sperm years ago, and everyone said I was crazy because I didn't go to like a place.
Hey guys, let me tell you about one of my favorite sponsors, Heshi Socks, HESHI Socks.com. If you go to HeshiSocks.com, use promo code WELCOME30, you get 30% off your entire order. Why do I love Heshi? Because they are made with high-end Pima cotton, so it's breathable in the warm weather, but keep your feet warm in the cold weather. They've got arch support. They've got a lot of different styles. You can wear them to work, wear them on dates, wear them to bed, wear them into the bathroom. Fashion socks, sports socks, playing ball, or chilling on the couch. Take a good look. They're a great sponsor, and I wear their product with pride. HESHI Socks.com. Use promo code WELCOME30. You get 30% off. They're not expensive to begin with, and they're quality. Because I used to wear Uniqlo socks, and those would wear out in the heel. These, I've had not one pair wear out. HeshiSocks.com. And now, let's get back to the show. Let's talk about the traveling lifestyle.
Yes.
Where's like all your stuff?
Oh, I live in an apartment on Long Island. I have a nice little suburban lifestyle.
But I mean,
I'm not an itinerant comedian.
I'm not saying you are. I'm just curious because if you're like, I mean, are you paying the New York rent or whatever?
No, I'm in the suburbs. Although I'm thinking I'm going to move to Queens next year.
Why Queens?
Astoria is where a lot of comics live because you can keep a car without too much hassle.
Yeah, my friend has a car there.
Yeah, and you've got the subway options, and it has a nice neighborhood feel to it. So I feel like I moved to Long Island about 20 years ago before I was doing stand-up, and whatever brought me out there, those people have moved away and gone on to other things, so now it's kind of just a pain in the ass to be out there.
So, I mean, how did you, 30s to start into stand-up?
Yeah.
That's pretty ballsy. What were you doing before?
This shows you how much things have changed. I was writing direct mail for Book of the Month Club.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Nothing in that sentence is still...
They have Book of the
around.
Month Club. They must.
It's just like a shell.
Is it?
Yeah, Amazon gutted all that business.
Oh, yeah, because Amazon
Yeah.
had their Book of the Month.
Yeah. Yeah. So I was doing advertising and marketing writing.
Okay, but what? I mean, how do you make that transition?
I was bored, and shockingly, writing junk mail wasn't that fulfilling. And I was in a strip club one night, and I saw they had a free magazine. So me being the nerd that I am, thought, ooh, something to read. And I brought this magazine home, and they were looking for someone to write a humor column. So I started writing a humor column under a fake name, and my friends would email it around, and my coworkers said, you should do something with this. And they talked me into taking a stand-up comedy class, and I thought it was interesting how it was so different from... I could write something.
You took a class.
I took a class. It was 2 classes, and then they threw you on stage, so it was barely
Holy
anything.
shit,
Yeah,
okay.
I was having a heart attack.
Yeah.
But I was surprised that I could write something that if you read it, you'd crack up. But it was different than going on a stage and delivering it.
Oh,
I thought
for
that was
sure.
interesting, yeah. And then 2 years into that, I started to think, oh, I think I want to be a stand-up comic. And then I got laid off, and I thought, all right. And I did my freelance writing for 2 years and worked on my stand-up. And then 2007, I did Last Comic Standing and made the semis, and that was enough for me to get pushed to go full-time.
I had Dave Lando, who you know,
Yes,
and I'm sure
yes.
you're pals with,
Love
who's
Dave.
also our size. He was on Last Comic Standing. He got booted off. So is that as stressful as it looks?
It's weird
Okay.
because I was, I guess, 5 or 6 years in when that happened. So I was still
That's
pretty
a big
new.
break.
It was. And at the time, I was pretty bummed that I didn't make the top 10. But looking
Sure.
back now, what a blessing it was. Just
Yeah, of course.
and I was not capable of going any farther than that. But it's weird because when you go out to LA, there was 30 something of us, and they interview and they shoot so much B-roll that I started to think, oh, I'm going to be like the star of this show.
Right.
But then once they announced the top 10, the rest of you, it's like, get out of here.
Yeah.
So you realize, wow, we were all together until they announced the top 10, and now there's a clear delineation of people who move on, and the rest of us are like,
Garbage.
take a hike, scum.
Yeah.
So when I got home, I was pretty depressed for a while, but do you know Mike Bichetti?
Of course.
Yeah, Mike had done it the year before, and he said, it's all good. You're going to get a lot of this out of this. And he said, people are going to recognize you on the street. And I thought, I mean, yeah, they recognize Mike because he's the character, but...
Yeah.
And then it was true. So, and the funny thing is the season that I did, the winner was John Reap, who I don't know if his career really changed all that much. And 4th place was Amy Schumer,
Wow.
who blew up within 2 years after that.
Literally. I did stand up for 6 months
Yeah.
many years ago. And I just remembered this now that you mentioned this. After I did it once, I got recognized on the street.
Wow.
I remember exactly where I was standing, 32nd and Broadway. It was a very weird experience. I still remember all my material because my friend had killed himself. And, his early 20s. And it was so absurd. And it's still absurd. That you would do it's not like he had chronic pain or going through a bad breakup. These things are off. People tend to think that suicide is like you get more and more depressed and then you kill yourself. It's often not that people often give no signs that they're suicidal at all. So it's really jarring.
Did he leave a note?
Yeah, and that was one of my jokes. It's like, dude, work on your handwriting. Like, I can't tell if this is you can't live with yourself or this is like some kind of bad recipe. Type it up. And
I have a gub. Right?
And he also like woke up early to do it. Sleep in.
What's the rush?
What's the rush?
Yeah.
And he had told his dad, his last words were, I'm not making any of this up. We should play catch sometime. And then he jumped off the balcony. And it was just like, we were cracking so many jokes. And I'm like, all right, if I can make people laugh about this as opposed to dick jokes, then I have some talent. And what I learned is, and I want to know how you deal with this. The same joke that kills on Monday is crickets on Tuesday. And that, with my autism, where you have the same input and completely different output, couldn't handle it.
Yeah, that's freaky. That's something that you'll even notice it from show to show, the same night, same town. You think, why? What's so different about the people at the 8 p.m. from the people at 10:30?
Statistically, it doesn't make sense. It's a random selection of population.
And I've listened to recordings, and my delivery seems to be exactly the same. So, but I think now that I've been doing this for a while, I think that's part of the appeal of stand-up, that it's always a walk on a tightrope, that you never know what's going to happen. And I think if you had some sort of Twilight Zone situation where if you knew every time you went on stage it would kill and get over, it would drive you crazy. You need to go up thinking that this may not work. I'm doing something that by rights shouldn't work. It shouldn't work that you can consistently manipulate language and movement to get a physical response from people. That it's like going up and saying something that makes everyone sneeze at the same time.
Sure.
But yet we're able to do it over and over again. It's the craziest thing.
How do you handle hecklers?
They're not that big a problem.
Okay.
Yeah. Usually the problem is a table of drunk women who won't shut up. That's more than, and that's worse than some guy going back and forth.
Yeah.
Because what's the worst that happens at? The guy beats the shit out of you? At least you can go down with some dignity.
Yeah.
But a table of women who won't stop talking, and then you have to gauge how hard you hit them, or people are going to think you're the bad guy, or it's a lot of times they just feel entitled to keep talking. I never understood that people come to a comedy show to catch up with their friends, and you're up there and you're like, look,
it's not a piano bar.
Exactly. You're not a guy in the
you're
background.
You're not background music for
your
the egotism that, oh, this is my night. It's the same as like people who play their music on the subway. Look, here's my argument.
Yeah.
Okay. As you know, I'm an anarchist. Mm-hmm. I'm for abolishing the police. Okay. Can't have that. Given that I'm going to have the police, I'm going to have police brutality. Okay.
All right.
Preference, number one, by far, no police. Mm-hmm. I have the police. I'm going to have police brutality. Given that I have police brutality, do I want it applied randomly or equally or towards certain people?
Oh, okay.
And I want it, if you're playing your music on the subway, maybe bludgeoned until I can see your brains. That's just putting it out there.
I wouldn't argue.
Yeah.
I was on the train coming in from Long Island a couple weeks ago, and I'm listening I had my headset on. I'm listening to my Tibetan bowls. I'm trying to get focused and all that. And I hear someone is playing their music very loud. So I take off my headset. It's loud enough for me to hear the headphones in, And I said, I'm going to say something. It was a morning train. It was like a 10 a.m. train. So I get up, and the good news was I heard it was music with guitars, and I thought, good. So it's not going to be a black guy. All right. So I don't have to worry about that element coming to it. And I go over, and it's kind of a white, trashy-looking guy in a sleeveless shirt with tattoos, and he just has the music. And I said, excuse me. I said, would you mind turning that down? It's a little loud. And he went, what? And I said, you should just turn the music down. I can hear it. And he said, you can hear this. I said, yes. And he goes, oh, all right. He starts to turn it down. So I sit down and I'm like, all right.
Adrenaline.
That went okay.
Yeah.
Then his head pops up and he looks back and he goes, why don't you put on headphones? Now,
Oh my God. Okay. But
yeah.
You should have told me this.
Okay,
You
so-
should have told me that. Oh, wait. Hold on. You should have. Okay.
so
okay.
the temptation is for me to say, why don't you put on headphones? You're the one producing sound. But I said, no. I said, I did have headphones on. And he goes, oh, and you could still hear it? And I said, yeah, it's loud. And I see the people around are kind of rolling their eyes at this guy. And he said, you must have super hearing. And I said, I didn't say anything. And he goes, like a superpower. What are you, Superman? And he's not mad yet. He's just weird. So I said, I went like this, more like Clark Kent. And he laughed.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So I think the situation's done. So we get to Penn Station. He gets up, and to the two guys in front of me, he goes, this fucking faggot sitting behind you telling me to turn my music down.
Wait, was this Gutfeld?
So he says that, but I think it's weird that he's saying this, but he's not saying it to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, if you're going to call me faggot, say it. All right. Let's then go. I will fight you over this. We're grown men, but I will
fight you for top.
I'll take the L
Yes.
if I have to, you know.
Take the D.
Yeah, yeah. So he says, tell me to turn my music down, and my wife just died. So now I'm like, but does that mean you get to play your music loud? I don't understand. So then, but the weird thing is he's talking shit about me to everyone around me, but he walks quickly past me. So he's a coward. He's a coward. He doesn't even have the courage to be a dick correctly.
Yeah.
So now I'm thinking, like, what do? I feel if the guy's wife has died, I feel bad for him.
Maybe it's
I mean,
karma.
I'm thinking, what's my move there? Is my move to say to him, part of me wants to say, I'm sorry to hear about your wife. Do you want to talk about it? Like and part of me wants to say, that does not give you license to play your shitty, like,
Yeah.
so then he gets off the train.
Oh, wait.
and-
Can I add? Can I got to interject.
Yeah.
I'm not stepping on the punchline, am I?
No.
Okay. My troll brain says,
Yeah.
Go to the funeral and play your shitty music. She can hear this?
It's
some
tempting to
Depeche
think of the
Mode.
worst possible thing you could say.
Yeah.
That, something about. But, then I told this to other people, and I was relieved that the first two people I told said the same thing. His wife didn't die. Guy made that shit up. And I thought, oh, wow. That's a great, because I've thought about saying that. That if
She
someone
did-
gave me a hard time about something, just saying, I have cancer, just to make them feel bad.
She didn't die because if she had died
Hmm.
and he was kind of beside himself,
Yeah.
when you called him on his bullshit, he'd be like, oh, dude, I'm sorry. And he'd
Yeah.
reorient to reality.
Yeah, exactly. So he's using whatever that is as a way to justify his own stupid behavior.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is the that's the other thing. It's that I've had friends who are like, oh, if someone's doing, like, non-New Yorkers, and they're like, oh, if someone's doing X, Y, and Z on the train, just
Yeah.
tell them to stop. And I go, okay, once you're removed from one standard deviation
Yeah.
from acceptable behavior, I don't know how removed you are.
Because they already don't give a shit.
To some extent,
Yeah.
right? So I think one standard deviation is the bag on the seat, right?
Yeah.
Those people can be reasoned with. They're like,
Yeah.
oh, sorry.
Yes.
Or,
And
they'll
that's
be-
all it takes.
Or they'll suck
Oh,
their
yeah, no
teeth or
problem.
whatever.
Yeah.
Once you're past that,
Hmm.
we don't know where this train is going to end up.
Yeah.
And these are the people also who would, in an earlier time, most certainly,
Mm-hmm.
feel justified in being violent
Mm.
because you stepped to him.
Yes, you disrespected.
You disrespect him. And I've heard this many times, and I've tried to wrap my head around it. They will say, if you don't like it, don't listen. And it's like, that's not how hearing works.
Yeah.
I'm not some dolphin. Like, underwater, I could close my ears or
Mm.
whatever. Not that dolphins have ears, but whatever. It's just weird.
Yeah, it's people produce this offense, and then while you're trapped with them in this container,
Yeah.
and it's, well, I would leave if I could. So yeah, when I think of that person,
But it's also the fact that he told you to put on headphones when that was what you were asking him to do. Did you
and
not?
just, part of it too is like, do you need fucking media coming at you constantly?
Right.
Just stop it. Just stop it. I mean, I went to the gym today and they didn't have the music on, and I was in heaven. There's no music,
Oh,
no
dude.
talking.
Oh, no. So I did cardio for the first time in my life
Oh,
last night.
sorry to hear that.
And I didn't have my iPod with me.
Oh, it's brutal.
It was a situation. I was just tweeting the whole time. I literally threw up in my mouth a little.
It's dying.
It was horrible.
Yeah. When you do, let's say you do 40 minutes of cardio.
Okay.
How much of your life does that improve? Because if it gets you back 40 minutes of living, it's a wash.
I want to get my cum gutters back.
Your what?
My cum gutters.
Oh, you did your ab experiment years ago.
Yeah, and I lost the abs. I'm getting them back, but I'm going full. I want my Buchenwald face.
Okay.
My family thought I was sick.
Yeah. You got dangerously lean.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I want. I want people to like,
Why?
because it is so fun to walk around and know that you are more lean than everyone around you.
So it's like an anorexic.
No, anorexia is about control. It's not about competition.
Oh, okay. So you were able to turn it outward.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah. You've never tried to get like super lean? Because I know you lift a lot.
Well, as much as I can now, my body is disintegrating. The closest I came to that was when I was wrestling in high school, cutting weight, and you start to get delirious.
Oh, yeah.
And
Because you're losing the water. You're
you
getting
have to
dehydrated.
cut 7 pounds overnight
Yeah.
and stuff like that. But years ago, I was so banged up from lifting that I did Bikram-style yoga for 5 years.
You are a fucking faggot.
I am. I really am. And I wore a Speedo just to be a
Did you
jerk.
really?
Yeah, I did, just for the horror of it. I did.
You're Italian. Is your back very hairy?
I get it waxed, so I'm
Oh.
even a little metro.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
and I have tattoos. I'm a very strange package. too.
Okay.
Speaking of package, but I started that kind of plump for me.
Okay.
I was closing in on 190, and I thought, if I get to 190, that means 200's coming. It's unacceptable. And I got down to, I was under 160, 32-inch waist, which for me, I look at pictures from that time period, and I think, why didn't somebody say something to me? And when my friends said, I told you all the time, you look like you have AIDS. And I was like,
32-inch waist is
Yeah.
AIDS?
For me, yeah, because I'm kind of like, I'm not big upper body, but I have thick legs and stuff
Okay.
like that. So, yeah. Oh, God, any lower than that, I mean, my face was starting to look bad. And I didn't have the beard then, too, so it looked even worse.
I have a friend who has always been very heavy.
Yeah.
And now he is trying to get abs for the first time in his life. And he's fucked because he's going to have the loose skin.
Mm.
So that is a big situation. And his face now
Yeah.
is not, it's lean.
How old is he?
He's like around our age, right? But he's also like, to him to get to that point, he's really.
His face is going to look bad.
It's
I think I'm quite a bit older than you, though.
How old are you?
I just turned 51.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, it's my birthday this weekend.
Happy birthday. Wow, you look great.
Oh, thanks. Fighting it. I'm old. So I got at least 10 years on you, right?
I'm 43.
Oh, 43. Okay. All right. Just about.
Wow.
Yeah.
Dude, that's amazing.
I'm trying. Healthy life.
Fuck.
If it weren't for stress, I think I would look even much better. It's been within the past 2 years. I'm starting to get it here.
Okay.
But other than that, I have to. I'm single. I still gotta be able to pull it off.
You've been doing comedy for a long time.
18 years.
What is your number one favorite joke to do?
My number one favorite joke to do. This is a good earner. I keep saying I'm going to retire it, but I don't. The premise is that I was dating a woman 50 years older than me. And the joke is I hated having sex at her place because the bed had that railing on it. And every time I slapped her ass, the lights would come on.
That's old school.
That is money in the bank.
Michael Malice here. I want to tell you guys about Mudwater. MUDWTR.com. Mudwater is not mad at coffee. They're disappointed. So what is it? It's got 1/7 the caffeine of coffee, and it leans on cacao, mushrooms, and herbs to give you energy and focus without the jitters and the crash. So they've got lion's mane for focus. They've got turmeric for inflammations, cinnamon to help suppress sugar cravings. You take a scoop, brew it into hot water, and you have a morning ritual that's more than just a vessel for caffeine. If you go to mudwater.com, MUDWTR.com, and use promo code DRINKMUD, you get 15% off your new morning ritual. I gotta tell you, a lot of you guys listening to this are snobs like myself or aspiring snobs. Bring this to the office, and they'll be like, what do you got there, coffee? No, I've got Mudwater. and they'll all be jealous and hate you because you're better than them. MUDWTR.com, promo code DRINKMUD. Let's get back to the show. So let's talk about this.
Yeah.
There's a situation that I never saw for myself,
Okay.
but people mention about you all the time on the internet.
Oh shit.
That you were on Kumia's show once,
Yeah.
and you just had a breakup,
Yeah.
and you went full blown like girl.
Yeah. I almost had a nervous breakdown on the air. Yeah. Yeah.
What?
I'd have to say though, for the reputation his audience has, the phone calls that came in were particularly kind,
Okay.
and I appreciated that.
Well, I think people
'Cause-
like you. It's hard not to like you,
Well, thanks.
but it's true.
Yeah, and I think that it was rough. Like my heart was busted up, and it's even taken me a while to still recover from that. I was surprised. I think it's harder when you're older.
Well, what was the situation there?
You know, I don't want to give away too many of the details because she was someone that I'd known for many years.
Okay.
And that I brought up the idea of, hey, how about we go on a date? And
Okay. That's a tough transition.
Yeah. And
Tough.
I think it was a midlife crisis thing, to tell you the truth.
Okay.
Because the idealized version I had of her in my head is great. It doesn't have a whole lot of connection to the reality.
That's
of
like a
who she is.
teenager thing,
It really was.
right? That's like if I make her this mixtape, then she's going to be my girlfriend.
Well, you know, we saw each other for about 4 months.
Okay.
And then to her, it was just, I guess, like a casual kind of thing. And she could feel me gearing up.
Okay, I'm going to interrupt you
Yeah.
because I already know that she's wrong and you're right. Because I've had this happen. No, here's why.
Okay.
If you know someone for years
Yeah.
as friends
Yeah.
and you start dating, it's not going to be casual like someone you just met.
Right on.
That is indisputably true.
Yeah. It bothered me that I felt like, look, I'm not some dude you met on Tinder. Like,
Right.
you know me, and you still. But, you know, she's got some issues. She's.
She
on the
dates this
spectrum.
fucking faggot.
She dates a homosexual like myself.
Yoga boy.
Yoga boy. Oh, man. We want to talk about losing weight. Jesus Christ.
No, I want to talk about the
But I'm just saying from the breakup.
Oh,
like,
oh my God.
My God. I mean, I couldn't believe how physically painful it was. And I was getting mad at myself. I was thinking, what is wrong with you? Get it together.
So wait, so you start dating casually.
Yeah.
It's more serious for you than for her.
Yeah.
Which I think you're 100% correct about. Then what happens?
I think what happened was she is not good with her emotions.
Okay. Well,
And-
apparently neither are you.
That's the feeling of the loss of control.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Because, you know, I went into it thinking, I know her. She's quite a bit younger. And she was someone that kind of looked up to me as a comic and all that. And I thought, I looked at my past relationships with had a pattern. And the pattern for me was I would pursue a woman, and when she reciprocated, I would run away.
That's really bad.
It's terrible.
That's really
It's
bad.
terrible. And it's only through a lot of work that I kind of figured out, why am I doing
Yeah.
it? Because I didn't even realize it. And I tell you what, after this breakup, I worked on it, and I had to make some calls. I called up some women from the past and said, listen, I got to get shit right with you. And
What did you say? What kind of
I
things?
said, I'm sorry for the way I behaved. I behaved badly. I took responsibility for it.
Wow.
That-
Were they receptive?
They absolutely were wonderful about it.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Wow.
That I was callous and I was selfish and I was just kind of like a jerk, you know? So, yeah. So when she broke things off, it just, again, I think.
How did she do it? There was a text?
No, she met with me.
Okay.
But she is kind of an unfeeling person. So she said it in a way like, well, you know, I met someone I'm attracted to, so I'm going to give that a shot. So,
Ew, what a cunt.
yeah, I didn't need to hear the attractive part.
I think that's awful.
It's pretty bad.
Wait, what was your idealized version of her then?
That, it's kind of hard to say. She is a person who can show, she's a broken person. And
Okay.
broken women are very dangerous
Yes,
because,
and often attractive.
well, for someone like me,
Are you a white knight?
the worst. And not only can you can't fix that person, and they don't want you
And
to
they
fix
can break
them.
you.
they'll break you. Was it my shrink says, damaged people, and they do, and they'll extract from you whatever they can.
You can't make them sane, but they can make you crazy.
Big time.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm a ruminator. I mean, in a way, I'll look back at the experience and say, I've come out a much better person for it. This was a big deal for me. I mean, I know it's kind of hard to, it must be weird to hear this from a grown man, but it was like, oh shit. And it kind of snapped me out of realizing I'd been coasting for about a decade.
Okay.
In my career, in my personal life. I mean, I had a funny moment with my shrink where afterward I was saying like, geez, I feel like I'm getting older, and what if I never really find true love? And she started laughing and she said, well, look how you live your life. And I said, what do you mean? And she said, you live like a playboy. I started laughing. I said, playboy? I thought it was more of a tragic figure. And she said, you're the one who tells me you go from town to town fucking all these different women when, you have women in all these different towns you go back to. And I heard her and I was like, she's right. She's right. I was doing that instead of doing what you need to do to be a decent partner to somebody. And when that hit me, a great deal of shame washed over me.
Wait, so what was your trick to having like a girl in every town?
Just be a stand-up comic.
And then just chat them up after the show?
Yeah.
And when they're drunk?
Oh, no. Sometimes I would meet them online through dating sites or whatever. And then when you happen to be in the town, you already have a rapport. They would see me on stage, and that's the best version of me you're ever going to see. You see me being funny and charming and in the moment and in control of a room, because women like guys with status.
Yes.
So I'm the highest status male in the room at that time. And then, God, I remember there's one woman. She came to stay with me when I was in Austin. She drove down from Dallas. And she said, I just want you to know I'm going to stay with a friend of mine, so there's not going to be any sex. And I was like, all right.
Well, that's one theory.
Like, okay. And then the next day we had lunch, and then we had sex. And as I was walking to her car, she said, I hope you're proud of yourself. And I was like, the hell does that mean? And she said, you seduced me. And I was cracked. I was like, I said, because women cannot take responsibility for their own. Look, you drove from Dallas to Austin. It's 3 hours. You don't make that trip without thinking you're getting some dick.
Did you have some kind of like clock on a like a watch?
Yes, woo, mesmerizing.
Yeah.
My God, if you got seduced by me, who was putting in almost no effort, who was so clumsy and inept, like really? That's all it takes? You're a single mom who hasn't been fucked in a long time, and you met a guy like me who's funny and has an idiotic, moronic charm. So just deal with it.
Is that your target, the single moms?
Not anymore. This was a couple years ago.
But that was?
Well, because when you're single and you're above a certain age, it's kind of who you...
Yeah, and they're vulnerable.
They are vulnerable.
They want the D.
They've already made a bad choice. Just add me to the list. Now I'm getting more selective with that. Although... Right? They've already proven.
Single moms, but the son, it has to be a son.
That's true.
I don't want two synced up chicks in my house.
Fuck that. I dated one woman who had 2 sons, and she was always trying to trick me into meeting and spending time with the sons. And I was like, I ain't doing dad shit.
Yeah, they're
like
probably going to be taller than me.
Yeah, exactly. I think they were.
Of
They
course.
can outgrow me. I didn't get them at that time when I still had a little height on them.
First grade.
Yeah. Shut up. Yeah, so that's another tricky thing too. Well, what's your deal? That's the question.
Oh God, it's a disaster. It is such a disaster.
How do you meet women?
I don't. This is why I'm fucked, except literally. No, in all seriousness. For dating apps, my worst qualities are front and center. And I quit, and I don't know how you do it, because I am not going to put my sense of self-worth and value for the sake of some 7 who's in some damn office. This is not happening. And I know how this sounds, but it's after a while, you're like, this is ridiculous. Yeah. Especially being munchkin sized. That's a huge, huge problem.
Height is the #1 thing women discriminate against.
Yeah. So it's like in person.
They don't care. In person doesn't matter.
Well, in person, I've got a lot of game.
Yeah.
And in person, I'm going to be somebody. But on this thing, it's not going to happen. So it's just, I totally gave up because it was frustrating.
It's bad because, well, I was just reading about this, how people really aren't even getting laid off of Tinder. It's just making people feel bad.
Yes.
Because you're just putting yourself out for rejection. And I get annoyed. I think, why do I care what this person... I get mad that this person hasn't responded to me, but I don't see this as a person of particularly high value or interest to me. I just want Just want everyone to be interested in me.
And I had a friend. She showed me her
Yeah.
Tinder. She wasn't hot shit.
Yeah.
So many matches.
Pummeled with men.
I can't do this.
Well, because for men, it doesn't cost anything to reply.
Right.
It's, yeah.
And again, that I have to like work on a clever opener for her. It's just
And they're dull.
They're-
People are boring.
people are very, very boring. And the other thing is,
Yeah.
women who are cute
Yeah.
are often very bad at banter. And if you're at a party or an event,
Yeah.
you can talk to her and you can do the work, and she could be the sidekick.
Yeah.
When on the app, she's not going to know what to do.
They've got nothing to say for themselves.
Right.
Those are the dates that I've. Usually, when I get to the going on a date,
And then I'm
stage,
got to interrupt
sure.
you because this is the one that really I can't handle. You and I are both self-employed.
Yeah.
We're in charge of our schedule.
Mhm.
We have to be Nazis about it, right? You were here early
Yeah.
today. The flaking
Yes.
at the last minute.
Mm.
Like, I have 2 shows, write books. I got a lot of stuff going on.
The day is planned out.
The day has to be planned out because no one is. If I don't work, I don't eat.
yes.
Right? And I have to juggle all these balls, blah, blah, blah. So if I have to orient my day to make a window for you, and last minute, you're like, I don't feel like it. Fuck you.
Yeah.
But that happens a lot
That
because it's easy for them to get dates.
ended the
Or it
last
happened.
person I was seeing. Was that we'd made plans, and also, look, I'll admit, I'm old and I'm cranky. I'll admit that straight off the bat. I'm a grouch. But we'd made plans, and as I was on my way to meet her, and I come in from Long Island, it's a schlep.
Yeah.
She said, "Well, would you mind if I just went and saw a movie by myself instead?" And I was
What?
I was like, "I'm on the way to your place now. We were supposed to eat and do stuff." And when I got there, I walked in. She's like, "Oh, I already ate." And I thought, like, what's going on here? And then she gave me a hard time about it. And I thought, oh, this woman doesn't respect my time.
Yeah.
But you know what? She's 32. She's really good looking. She's got a few more years of getting away with that shit. So
But it's going to be, it's going to collapse.
it's so beautiful when they hit the wall.
It's not beautiful.
No, it is. It is because
They weren't told better.
But I think it's fascinating that very attractive women, especially now, the way they look at the world it's completely alien to the way we must look at it.
Of course.
And then, especially, let's say you're a super hot woman who's been beautiful since you were a child, and they've never developed a personality.
Correct.
They never needed to. And then that wall hits them at what, 33, 35?
Even earlier.
Even earlier, sometimes 30. And the world suddenly has no interest in them. It must be like waking up into a nightmare for them.
No, I think it's like a midlife crisis
Yes.
for us, but it's overnight
Yeah.
instead of a gradual decline.
Yeah.
Because I think it goes very quickly, and we're both talking out of our ass here, speculating, but I think it goes very quickly from overwhelming. I think there's a very big difference between overwhelming male attention and a lot but manageable. Psychologically, there's a difference between I can't handle this. I'm like, oh, I'm getting a lot of attention. Those are very different states.
It's finite quantity versus infinity.
Yes. Right.
I mean, a million versus infinity.
Right. It's like if someone has $500,000, they're well off.
Yeah.
Compared to a billionaire,
Yeah.
it's not even close.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
So-
not even noticeable. So that part, I think also, just recently I've started to think dating younger women, I have to be reasonable. That it's a strange thing that happened. When I turned 50, suddenly younger women were much more interested in me.
Is that true?
Absolutely. And I think also I became more aware of it.
Okay.
Because at a certain age, you stop giving a shit. And
that ship has sailed for me a long time ago.
but women sometimes interpret it as a quiet cool, where for me it's just exhaustion and I'm just tired. I'm just fucking young guys can't believe this when I tell them. I said there's going to come a day where an attractive woman is going to say she wants to have sex with you and you won't be in the mood. And trust me, you can't believe that now, but it's fun because a woman who offers sex and you turn her down, they lose their minds because they've never had that experience before.
Right.
And to tell them like, hey, you're annoying. Like my dick can't get hard because you're irritating. Like they can't.
You've been doing comedy for a long time.
18 years.
What is your number one favorite joke to do?
I would say my favorite joke is probably anything that has a lot of appeal to a broad audience, which is why I like to close on something that celebrates the contributions to the space program made by Latinx trans women.
Yeah. Michael Malice here, guys. Everyone should have their own domain name. So if you are Googled by an employer or a date or someone you went to high school with, your domain name will come up first. And once that happens, you can use Wix to build a website. If you go to wix.com/welcome, you can see more about it. You get a blank page. They got all these templates to choose from. If you know how to use PowerPoint, you know how to use Wix. You can get a page set up very, very quickly. You could also make an online store, booking system, live chat, from the basics to all the way to becoming self-employed. If you go to wix.com, wix.com/welcome, you can learn more about it. Sell your crap. It's just collecting dust in your house, loser. Let's get back to the show. I had a fan on Twitter.
Yeah.
And I got to talk with him. He was in Chippendales, or like a Chippendales-like thing.
So he's professionally good looking.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, what's that like? Are you getting laid all the time? And he had to put in the work. Like, after the show, he has to talk up this, like, St. Louis 10, Las Vegas 6 to get her home.
Yeah.
And it's like, holy crap.
Well, hypergamy is real.
What's that mean?
Hypergamy is that women biologically look for the best available option.
Okay.
They need to. Because if they make a wrong choice and mate with a schmuck, they're in big trouble. And big trouble can mean anything up to including their own death and the death of their child.
Right.
So women have to take a very different view than we do. You know, it's like I always say, sperm is cheap and eggs are expensive. So it's different. The market is different. You know, our society is insisting that men and women are all no.
Right, of course
this
not.
idea that men and women are the same. It's if you have the number line of humanity, it's this little tiny point at the end where people even entertain that crazy idea. So, but to go back to online dating, it used to be that there's a Pareto distribution. Women are all aiming for the top 20% of men. Sure. Every woman is, no matter where she is. They're all aiming for that. But it used to just be a Pareto distribution in your town or your city. But now with online dating, all of those women are shooting for those same top guys. So it's very bad for men who, if you lived in a small town, you'd eventually partner up.
Sure.
Because the big shots would have paired up with the top women, and then everybody else sorted themselves out. So I think we're heading into like a weird... We're going to get into some like polygamous type society where the top males with resources and status, there's no reason for them to settle down. They'll just select...
They'll be playboys. They'll have single moms in every town.
They'll have but no, they won't even have that. They'll
Joe
be like,
DeVito the stud.
yeah, right? Can you imagine? But it's almost going to be like that graph you have with Leonardo DiCaprio gets older, but his women all stay at age 25.
Well, that's the other thing that I don't think women appreciate about why guys like to date younger women.
Mm.
I think it's not about that they look pretty or whatever.
Yeah.
New York, and I feel bad because I feel the women are victims. Hardens women.
Big time.
And I think it's not their fault. It's that they're in an office and some idiot frat boy is mansplaining to her, is talking down to her, is misogynist.
Yeah.
She has to work harder to be respected and her brain appreciated. But then when you bring that energy on a date and you're tough, it's like, I just want to get to know you.
Just
this is
be
not a
nice.
competition.
Yeah.
Rein it in. And they can't. And it's really not their fault. But it's still very off-putting.
It's a turnoff. I see it in the dating profiles where in their description, they just start with, you men need to stop doing... It's like, what the fuck? I don't even met you yet.
Me.
You're yelling at me. I don't want to hear this shit.
I have a question for you.
Yes.
So you gave me one of your blazers. It was the cover of your
My album, yes.
So
do you wear it? Please tell me you wear it.
I wear it in my rotation.
Oh, fantastic.
So my question to you is, if I ever choose to not wear it, do you want me to return it or do you want me to throw it out?
Oh, I'd like it to go to a good home.
I don't know what that means in this context.
Do you know an even smaller person we could give it to? And
Dave Landau.
Oh, Landau's a little chunky. I don't know if he would fit
But he's
into that.
smaller.
Is he?
Yeah.
Oh, it's a pretty slim fit blazer.
That is a slim fit blazer.
Yeah, that's when I was lean.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, when that day comes, I will ask you what to do with it.
Okay,
Because
I think we
if
can-
it's something that means something to you, I'm not gonna.
I'm
throw it
happy
out.
that you're wearing it though.
Oh, of
because
course.
it was a nice.
I wear it in
blazer.
nightshade all the time.
That was I think a 38 short, slim fit. There's no way I'm packing myself. In
I think it
that.
was 36.
Could be.
No, maybe 38. But I'm like, oh wow, this is the blazer he wore on the album cover.
Yes.
And then I look, and you got it at Macy's.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
it's
thought
nice though.
It is nice, but I thought it was gonna be like nice.
Please,
What?
you forget who you're dealing with here.
You're a playboy.
Playboy.
By your own
Yeah,
admission.
I'm a playboy with that and holding a bubble pipe. Is Hugh Hefner. Yeah.
Is it annoying always traveling, or do you get used to it?
It wears on you. Like this, I mentioned this past week, I worked a cruise for the first time. It was pretty fun. The shows were good. I met some nice people. Got to sit in the sun. But the getting there, the flights and the connecting,
Yeah.
like my hip hurts and it's stressful, and I still don't quite know exactly how to pack. But it was fun. I picked up the ship in Cozumel, and I went into the pharmacies where you can just buy prescription drugs. It was hilarious.
What'd you get?
I got a box of Ritalin.
Oh,
Yeah.
what do you use that for?
I haven't used it yet, but I think I'll use it when I write. I'll pop one.
Huh?
I wanted to get Adderall, but they didn't have that. But they had something called modafinil or something. But
Okay.
I didn't know enough about it to buy it.
I mean, you could have then brought it back and sold it.
I could do that.
Yeah.
It's very interesting. I guess you can bring back, even if you don't have a prescription, but it's legal in the U.S., you can bring it back if it's under 50 pills. I think that's the law.
I don't think it is, Joe.
No?
I think it's illegal.
Well, I did put it up my ass just in case. Just in case.
That's where the yoga pays off.
Yes, that's where I was able to get my foot behind my head like that.
What is your favorite joke that you used to do that just you couldn't make work? There's
Oh.
got to be one where you're like, how is this? I love this joke, but it's not funny.
Oh, shit.
There's got to be more than one.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to think. It's. Well, I know which joke you like.
Which one?
The joke about the single moms.
Oh,
the
God.
single moms when they say.
Oh God! Oh God! Tell this joke. Oh, this.
It's on the
I
profiles.
forgot about this. It makes. Oh my! This want to kill myself.
On the profiles, the women always say, "Mother of a great son," and I say, "If the kid's so great, why did his dad leave?"
God, it causes me physical pain.
It's good. It's good.
Do you do that one on stage?
I bring it back every now and then. Here's the interesting thing.
Ah.
People laugh and then they groan, and what I'll do is I'll take a slow sip. And then they'll laugh again. I don't know why that gives them permission.
Lando does that face too.
Yeah. I don't know what it does, but it's worked every time that, yeah. I'm trying to think that.
Do you have a comic archenemy? Someone who, like, whenever you see them backstage, you're like, oh God, I hate this person. You don't have to give their name.
There's one comic, he's a loser though, so I don't run into him too much. He was a Long Island guy, a notorious joke thief.
Oh, Oh,
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So that's not a personality thing. That's an ethics thing.
But it's an ethical choice based on his shitty personality.
Sure, but it's not like you're hating him just because you don't like him personally. This is
Oh.
objectively wrong.
Yeah, he's a shitty person. Yeah. I remember I showed up at a gig once, and usually you never know who knows who.
Right.
So if someone mentions a comic's name, you got to be like, yeah, I work with him. And you have to do that weird back
Yeah,
and forth because, they could be the person's cousin or whatever. So I showed up at this gig, and I said, who else is on the show? And they said, oh, this guy Eric is in the middle. And I was like, oh, I like Eric. They said, and this guy Steve is hosting. And as soon as they said his name, I went, fuck! And they were like, oh, is it a problem? And I was like, no. And then, of course, he was completely annoying the whole time. I remember him telling a younger comic, they asked us what our writing process was. And I'm very into that, so I told him. And then they asked him, and he said, well, I listen to other comics' acts, and I hear what people are laughing at. And if it's something that does well, I'll just take it and change a few words. And I thought, holy shit, he's just coming out and saying that?
He's the guy in the subway.
Yes!
It's the same.
He's
He doesn't think there's anything wrong with it.
He's just an intrusion. And he went to Vegas and worked with a comic and came back with a chunk of that guy's act. And someone recognized it, and they called that other comic, who happened to be a former Golden Gloves boxer. And that comic called him and said, I hear you doing my stuff, and if you don't stop, I'm gonna break your jaw. And he was doing it. I mean, there's, comics, we get pissy about parallel thinking, especially for current event jokes.
But there's a difference between, like,
he came home with the guy's bit.
Yeah,
I mean, there's no question about it. So that's just the lowest. People don't realize what a violation that is. Even like you have the guys like Fuck Jerry and the Fat Jewish who are stealing comics memes and just cropping out their handles. And you hear people say, well, what's the big deal? It's like, what's the big deal? Imagine if at your job you worked on a project and at the last minute someone went and submitted that project to your boss and took credit.
And it costs you nothing to leave the
Of course,
name.
they were acting like we're curators. Well, then why did you block out the person's contact info?
Yeah. This reminds me of, I have a lot of lapel pins.
Yes.
And this is an issue because some of these lapel pins, like the Chinese manufacturer, will just take the exact art and make it themselves. And that pisses them off. And they're right to be pissed off. They created something original. But I remember there was one where like this person made, those saint candles, right?
Oh, yeah.
And they made them of like Dolly Parton.
Okay.
And then they were pissed off that someone else did it. It's like, but you stole that photograph. That wasn't your photograph of Dolly Parton that you appropriated to make this.
Yeah, you're either in or you're not.
Yeah. So it was just all this. I mean, there's a lot of gray areas here, but when you are lifting, that's the other thing. He has no perception that this is inappropriate because in his mind, jokes are in the ether and anyone could just grab them.
He's a desperate person.
Okay.
And people who lead lives of desperation, they're capable of anything. They'll justify anything. I mean, I think his excuse has been, well, where else do I get my material from? It's like, well, you do the work or you fuck off.
I did do the work. I listened to the rack. But I mean, that's the psychology.
Yeah, his idea is that you go through and you pick. That to him, that's the work. That's his process. Is he looks what someone else has been successful at, and then he does a shitty version of it.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. There was a guy a couple years ago who got in trouble. He was doing a big chunk of Patton Oswalt's act, one of his signature bits. And someone recorded it at the show, and they realized this guy's doing Patton Oswalt shit. And when the guy got confronted, it turns out his whole resume was bullshit. He said he had a special on Comedy Central, and he was getting... None of it was true. And no one ever checks these things. And I guess, well, now we live in this era of fake news and all that shit, but no one thought to say... This guy's resume sounds a little fishy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We are running out of time.
Oh, we're just getting started.
What has been your favorite part of this interview?
I just think you've been very nice to me. You've been so respectful of me.
Oh,
I like that. You're such... You and I we have laughed so hard in green rooms of these shows.
That's true.
That it's hard to explain to people that when you meet someone in the green room at Fox News, you really don't know what you're going to get. Everybody's been pretty nice in my experience.
Yeah, same here.
But I wish I could remember what it was, but I guess it was Kennedy's show, probably where we first met. And we were in the green room, and one of us said something so shitty, like and we both started laughing, and right away we like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
This guy gets it.
Yeah, okay. Well, you are welcome. We're clear? Okay, so now we're going to do the